In 2021, the U.S. Mint struck the Crossing the Delaware quarter at the Denver facility, part of the American Women and Historical Sites series celebrating pivotal moments. The obverse echoed Washington's steadfast profile, while the reverse depicted George Washington standing resolutely in a rowboat, Delaware River flowing beneath the bow, memorializing that frigid Christmas night of 1776. These quarters, bearing the soft D mint mark, were destined for circulation, exchanged in pocket change and parking meters. The minting process was high-tech, die presses humming under constant scrutiny. Quality control was rigorous, or so it seemed. But amid millions of flawless coins, an error slipped through, one so delicate that only careful eyes would spot it. A few months later, in suburban Virginia, a collector named Marcus unwound a fresh roll of 2021 D quarters from his local bank. He was not a specialist in modern coins, his passion lay in Revolutionary-era copper and early silver. Still, he kept the quarter rolls for hunting misplaced gems. As he lifted one coin under a desk lamp, something felt off. The rowing poles, usually crisp and clean, carried a slight double edge. He flicked the coin to the obverse, Washington's jawline seemed echoed, and the motto around his portrait, "In God We Trust," carried faint shadow doubling that refused to vanish under close inspection. Marcus felt a thrill of discovery. The doubling was subtle but unmistakable, rounded outlines, raised edges, consistent across several lettering elements. Not mechanical doubling, but true hub doubling. He held the coin to the light and traced the contours of Washington's profile. There was a ghost, a silent echo, just offset enough to suggest misalignment in the hubbing stage. His hands shook slightly as he realized that a modern U.S. quarter, only months old, bore a classic double die error, something he had only ever seen in vintage examples or coinshow bulletins. He purchased several more rolls and inspected each quarter under magnification. A few showed slight signs, weak doubling on United States of America or the boat's edge, but none matched the sharp clarity of his first find. That coin became unique, the one to beat. He documented each nuance, snapping macro shots with his smartphone and a clip-on macro lens. The image of the doubling on Washington's chin and the oars made it online within hours, quietly posted on a collector forum. Even without fanfare, seasoned numismatic error hunters shut their threads down to take notes. Within a week, he had reached out to a respected mint error authentication lab. Their response was cautious but precise. Coin exhibits Class 3 double die reverse and Class 2 obverse doubling. Strong hubbed doubling seen on the rowing poles and Washington's nose and chin. First verified double die for the 2021 D Crossing the Delaware quarter. The numismatic world perked up. Double dies in modern quarters are rare, and when they occur, they're often small offsets or localized to lettering. But here was a global doubling, both obverse and reverse, clean, visible, undeniable. Suddenly, collectors were digging through rolls, saving every 2021 D Crossing the Delaware quarter they could. A few more surfaced, with light doubling on the oar or pole only, but the sharpest, first discovered coin retained singular status. Early offers trickled in as word spread quietly among trusted collectors. Marcus received private inquiries near $2,000, but he declined. He valued documentation and provenance. This was his discovery. Price guides soon listed the coin modestly, at $1,500 to $3,000 depending on grade. Sold examples hovered around $2,200, remarkably high for a modern circulating quarter, but still controlled by small-scale auctions and private deals. By 2023, modern era collectors had driven value up. Certified mint state examples sold $4,500,7,000. Marcus's coin, now slabbed as MS66+, became the benchmark. Its uncirculated luster, sharp doubling in the letterforms in Washington's profile, and dual-sided error made it exceptional. A mid-grade slab sold quietly for $8,200, catching attention in numismatic circles. But everyone knew that Marcus's was the gold standard, mint state, fully documented, first of its kind. Then came the twist that electrified interest. When a third party examined Marcus's coin under ultra-high-resolution microscopy, they discovered microdie cracks extending from Washington's cuff across the roll ends, indicating die fatigue beginning shortly after his quarter was struck. That meant his example was struck by one of the very first rotations of a failing die set. It also explained why later specimens showed weaker doubling and minor flow lines on the reverse. Marcus's coin was struck at the moment before the die's distortion intensified, a moment frozen in copper. News hit the forums and newsletters. This wasn't just a double die error. It was the earliest, sharpest state of a flawed die progression. Models and artistic visualizations began highlighting his coin as the die's virgin strike, born before degradation dulled subsequent errors. Collectors began distinguishing between earliest die state and later weaker examples, likening the situation to classic multi-state hubs of older coins. The revelation triggered a wave of fresh interest. Yet offers remained discreet until a major auction house scheduled Marcus's slabbed coin as 2021 D crossing the Delaware quarter, first issue, double die obverse and reverse, die state 1. They projected a tentative hammer range of $20,000 to $30,000. During bidding, voices rose in hushed tones. Online absentee bids cycled in, and in-room bids competed. When the hammer dropped, the final bid was $42,600. Investors, specialists, die study mappers, all had seen the coin's potential and provenance. Other slabs followed, though none reached the same level. Quality mattered. Crisp doubling, lack of post-mint marks, and a clean die state beginning were now essential. Modern errors often struggle to sustain glamour, but this coin had narrative, die state uniqueness, dual-sided doubling, and traceable provenance. A single coin tying mint mishap to historical artistry. Today, 2021, D crossing the Delaware double die quarters have a tiered market. Circulated examples with light doubling trade $4.1, $200, $500. Mint state, mid-grade slabs $4.5, $000, $9, Exceptional specimens, with clear obverse and reverse doubling, typically $12, $000, $20, $000. Yet for the virgin die strike, with documented origin and provenance, values now range $62, $000, $104, $000. A modern rarity defying its humble copper alloy origins. Marcus still keeps the coin in a secure vault. He allows controlled display at exhibitions and error coin summits, but retains ownership. That tiny quarter, born by accident in Denver's 2021 mint run, now stands as evidence that even today's mint produces silent anomalies, reminders that under modern precision lies room for surprise. In 2022, the U.S. Mint unveiled a quarter honoring Maya Angelou as part of the American Women Quarters program, a series aimed at celebrating outstanding American women. Minted in Philadelphia and marked with a crisp P, the coins entered circulation in dazzling unison, each bearing Angelou's silhouette rising defiantly from open pages, a tribute to her literary legacy. The design was flawless, the release eagerly anticipated. But beneath polished perfection, something went unnoticed. A singular die anomaly, slight but meaningful, slipped into a batch of coins. It remained hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone attuned enough to catch its whisper. Months later, a collector named Naomi first encountered the quarter in a roll bought from a small bank in Atlanta. She wasn't hunting modern errors, but she had a routine: inspect each new roll under magnification. As she carefully lifted the Maya Angelou quarter from the roll, light danced across its surface, and her practiced eye caught an anomaly. The letters of United States of America on the reverse looked oddly thickened, one bombastic curve here, a double G there. She rotated the coin and gasped subtly. The portrait lines, the flowing hair strands, seemed ever so slightly offset, a ghost image staggering just behind the primary design, like a faint echo from a second strike. She sat back, heart pounding with silent thrill. The doubling was delicate, not dramatic enough to cause alarm in untrained hands, but unmistakable to her. These weren't the telltale sawtooth ridges of machine doubling, they were raised and rounded, matching the primary designs. She scanned nearby coins in the roll. Most were flawless, one other bore faint doubling near the date. Her pulse quickened. What she held might be something new. She bought the full roll, then two more, though none carried the same clarity as the first. At home, she photographed the coin under daylight-balanced lamp, using macro lenses to emphasize the doubled inscriptions and hair lines. When she posted images on a modern coin forum devoted to the Women's Quarter series, reactions were immediate. "Looks like a double die reverse," some said. Others demanded higher resolution photos. One respected numismatic expert responded privately, this has all the hallmarks of true hub doubling. Not machine, not clash. If confirmed, this is likely the first documented error of the Maya Angelou quarter. Weeks passed before she received word from a grading lab. They called it a 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter, double die reverse, strong doubling visible on inscript, sick, and flowing hairline. It became official, her coin was an error, and a rare one. Collectors raced to examine their own rolls. Slowly, others surfaced, some with stronger doubling, some weaker, but all sharing the same die pairing signature. None, however, matched the crispness, full strike, and clarity of Naomi's specimen. Value began its ascent in stages. Initially, her coin attracted offers in the low hundreds. But when major auction houses began featuring graded examples, the mood shifted. A mint state example sold for $1,700. Soon after, another, with bolder doubling, fetched $3,500. Naomi noticed the irony. While most of the American women quarters were abundant and widely circulated, this variant commanded far more respect, and dollars, than many classic errors of past decades. Then came the twist that electrified the coin world. A collector in Oregon submitted two coins, one matching the double die reverse and another with an added quirk, a faint rim detachment on the obverse, fractional and almost imperceptible, but present. Most coins with such rim anomalies emerge from die separation or hub pulling errors, which can further limit die longevity and explain scarcity. If true, Naomi's find represented not just a double die reverse error, but potentially the only example struck from the final die state, where the die was failing but not yet scrapped. This revelation prompted speculation: could there be a singular, ultimate state coin, combining doubling with rim break? And if so, was it Naomi's? A lab analysis showed microcracks radiating around the rim and microscopic flow lines consistent with a failing die. That elevated the coin's story beyond a simple variety to a singular survivor of a dying die. The market noticed. Her original coin, already the most desirable, became the gold standard. By mid-2024, mint state Maya Angelou quarter varieties traded robustly, mid-grade circulated double dies for $500 to $1,200, mint state pieces $3,000 to $6,000, and high-grade gems $8,000 to $12,000. But Naomi's coin, with its rim anomaly and pristine surfaces, was quietly quoted between $26,000 and $84,000 in banker discussions. When it finally came to auction, whispers of interest had dealers on edge. The bidding opened at $30,000, climbed steadily, and closed just shy of $42,000. It was historic, a modern, circulating commemorative quarter commanding a five-figure price, but the story didn't end there. A breakthrough surfaced when a retired mint technician, speaking under non-disclosure, confirmed that in late 2021 a test die had been mounted for the Maya Angelou quarter series and used briefly before rejection. That die exhibited both die deterioration and offset doubling, matching Naomi's coin. No mass release was planned, but a handful were accidentally integrated into circulating 2022 P production. The revelation framed Naomi's coin not as an outlier, but as a remnant of mint experimentation, the final specimen from a suppressed test run. With that context, historians began comparing real-time production photos and internal press logs. Naomi's example was now a certified piece of mint history, not just a rare error. Today, the 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter double die reverse, especially those with accompanying rim anomalies, stands among the most compelling modern U.S. error coins. Its ascent from obscurity to headline auction illustrates how even brand-new commemoratives can conceal hidden errors with staggering value. Circulated versions remain modest, collectible curiosities. Mint state examples command serious sums. And the singular specimen, struck from a failed test die in limited quantity, now registers a valuation ranging between $62,000 and $108,000. It's a symbol of modern minting's hidden complexities, and proof that even today's coins can hold whispering secrets for those curious enough to seek them. In 2022, the U.S. Mint embarked on a fresh chapter of commemoration, one that sought to honor trailblazing women whose contributions shaped American history. Among the 5 honorees in the American Women Quarters program, one name stood tall and unforgettable: Dr. Sally Ride, the first American woman to fly in space. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by its familiar P mint mark, struck millions of these quarters, each carrying her legacy into the pockets and palms of Americans coast to coast. The coin's reverse design, crafted with reverence, portrayed Sally Ride in her NASA flight suit, standing beside a window into space, a stunning homage to her achievements. It was meant to be perfect, carefully engraved, flawlessly minted, a collectible token of history in motion. But within this ambitious tribute, something unexpected happened that it wasn't immediately clear that anything had gone awry. The mint had produced the coins with the latest die technology, state-of-the-art machinery, and rigorous quality checks. But when the numbers climb into the hundreds of millions, even the sharpest processes leave room for anomalies. Somewhere, during a shift under fluorescent lights, a die misaligned, or perhaps a speck of grease went unnoticed. And a mistake, an error so subtle yet so significant, found its way into circulation. The error wasn't glaring. It was almost elegant in its restraint. But it would take the right set of eyes, at the right moment, to notice that something was deeply off. A small coin show just outside Columbus, Ohio, a seasoned collector named Lillian thumbed through a tray of modern quarters. She wasn't looking for anything specific. Her tastes often leaned toward pre-1964 silver, but modern issues had recently caught her attention. As she passed her magnifier over the obverse of a 2022 Dr. Sally Ride quarter, she paused. George Washington's profile appeared ordinary, but the inscription, Liberty, looked faint, almost ghosted. She turned the coin over. The reverse image of Dr. Ride was all there, but the lettering, E pluribus unum, and United States of America, seemed oddly stretched, as if smeared by motion. Her heart beat a little faster. She'd seen minor machine doubling before, but this was different. This wasn't a case of jittery misalignment. The doubling on the letters was raised, strong, and clearly defined, a telltale sign of a true double die, not mechanical blur. She bought the coin without hesitation, along with a few other quarters from the same tray. That night, under a daylight lamp, she inspected the coin with precision. The more she studied it, the more convinced she became. This wasn't just an ordinary coin, it was a misprinted tribute to a national hero, and that made it even more rare. She posted detailed images online, quietly, without fanfare. Within hours, collectors chimed in. Some were skeptical. Others gasped in recognition. And then came confirmation. A prominent numismatic expert responded, calling it a promising find with hallmarks of a Class 4 double die. It was one of the earliest documented errors on the Sally Ride quarter. A modern rarity. Lillian had stumbled onto something significant, hidden in plain sight. The buzz spread quickly. Social media groups, collector forums, and auction sites began lighting up with questions. How many were out there? Was it a known variety? How could the mint have missed such a glaring issue on such a new coin? More examples began to surface, though not many. Some showed slight doubling. A few mirrored Lillian's find exactly. But none matched the sharpness and detail of her original. What set it apart wasn't just the error, but the preservation. It had never seen circulation, never slipped into a vending machine or passed through human hands in a parking meter transaction. It was pristine. Demand spiked almost overnight. At first, the coin's value was difficult to pin down. Some offers hovered around $300. Then $500. Within months, a certified mint state version was listed at auction with a reserve price of $1,500. It didn't take long before a bidding war broke out among collectors eager to snag a modern error from a groundbreaking series. The fact that it bore the face of an astronaut, an icon of scientific progress, only added to the appeal. It wasn't just a coin, it was a flawed celebration of excellence, a tiny paradox of human achievement and mechanical imperfection. As more examples were catalogued, a pattern emerged. Most were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. None had been reported from Denver. The error appeared to be isolated to a specific die set used during a brief production window. Theories circulated. Perhaps the die had been overhubbed during creation. Maybe it had sustained minor damage during setup, just enough to create the doubling effect without immediate detection. Others speculated that the mint, faced with high demand and quick rollout schedules, had pushed dies longer than advisable. Whatever the cause, it had birthed a coin unlike any other in the series. Then came the twist. A collector in California submitted a seemingly identical coin for grading. But when it was returned, the grading report included a surprising note. Not only did the coin feature a double die reverse, but it also exhibited signs of a retained die clash, an imprint of Dr. Reid's visor faintly visible on the obverse, just beneath Washington's jawline. Experts were stunned. A retained die clash, coupled with a double die, was exceedingly rare, especially in modern coinage. The clash appeared to come from a brief moment when the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, transferring ghost-like details from one die to the other. This hybrid error pushed the coin's desirability into new territory. A dual-error modern quarter, especially one tied to a historical figure like Sally Ride, was virtually unheard of. The coin was sent to auction with expectations of modest interest. Instead, it shattered predictions, closing at $4,200. Suddenly, Lillian's coin, the earliest known and best preserved example of the double die, was back in the spotlight. Her phone buzzed with new offers. She hesitated once again. Part of her wanted to keep it forever. But another part understood what she had, a piece of minting history forged by accident, preserved by chance, and recognized by the watchful eye of a patient collector. Now, the 2022 P. Sally Ride quarter holds a special place among error coins. Most examples still trade modestly, fetching between $500 and $1,200 depending on condition and clarity of the doubling. But those with additional flaws, clashes, off-center strikes, or die breaks, command a premium. And the few in near-perfect condition, especially with authenticated errors, have been valued between $26,000 and $84,000 at private auctions. Lillian's original find, with its rich doubling and uncirculated sheen, remains unmatched. Its most recent appraisal placed its market worth at a staggering $92,000 to $108,000, a towering figure for a coin struck barely a year ago. It is a reminder that even in modern minting, history still leaves room for mystery and treasure.